They took me out of the county. They took me off
That's
the
what
board.
Shane clarified. In
Yes, exactly. So he's still the 9th CDRC youth chair. They just ousted him from Lapeer GOP.
Yes, so I'm still a part of the GOP.
Did that have anything to do with your appearance on the show here?
Well, that's where Scott McMahan gets into.
Yes.
And so Scott McMahan...
I've never met Scott, but according to that statement, he's a dick.
Well,
Yes.
So Scott has...
According to many statements we're going to get into very shortly.
Scott's quite a character. Scott is someone that has a very interesting background, and he just kind of showed up in Lapeer randomly, and has
out of the blue.
What's the background there?
So he was from Arizona, and
were there some cultish activity?
He's stated publicly that he was a part of two different cults.
We want to make sure that came from his
Two different
lips.
cults in Arizona. Yes, he has admitted to that.
Yep, and
from the horse's mouth.
Yep, he's admitted to that, and that he grew up out of that, and he has learned a lot. And I'm glad that we have those moments of growth.
He was in a cult, and now you're in a cult if you are against him politically.
Yes, absolutely. And so, during our Lapeer County GOP meeting, he brings up that I've been on this podcast, that he's like, you're a Nazi sympathizer.
We actually have the video of that.
Yeah,
if
let's
you
pull
want to play it up.
Let's play it up.
This is Shane Trejo that he was on, and it's not just that he was on the podcast. Austin was actually, and I shared this with some other members of the executive committee, because I was just horrified by it. He's actually defending his own anti-Semitism and explaining how he arrived at his anti-Semitic views. And Austin, you run in these circles we talked about, and this is absolutely, this is not what the Republican Party is about. And this is something that I think we have to take a stand on.
Because even the chair or whoever's presiding over it,
this was hilarious.
It's even like I didn't see any nothing you're describing is even there, and humiliates dumbass Scott McMahan the liar.
I was sent, I believe, clips from Austin's appearance on Shane Trejo's podcast, which was with Joey Mason.
Yeah.
And with comments about what he said being anti-Semitic. I watched the clip. I don't watch Shane Trejo's podcast. I didn't watch the entire podcast with Austin's appearance on, but from the clip I was given, I don't believe Austin made anti-Semitic comments. I think they were, him and Joey were talking about their belief that Israel has more influence over American politics than it should. So that was my takeaway from it. And so I just want to be clear to Austin here. I think I've made it clear that we're not on the same side of this issue particularly, but that's my personal belief on that particular issue.
That goes into exactly, his admissions on his podcast of being a part of these weird groups. But I don't want to focus so much on that as what he's actually saying about the movement and what he's actually doing right now in terms of the message that he's spreading within the Michigan Republican Party. This is one of the posts that he made, one of the more offensive posts, spitting in the face of grassroots in Michigan. One thing he says here, if you look at it, he says, one of the biggest crises ahead of us politically is we have state GOPs that are essentially mind-controlled collectivist cults who believe the party is something it should never be, a vehicle for power, control, and accountability. So you see, like, okay, power and control. Who wants to, be a part of something that you're just a naked power grab in the GOP? But accountability. So you're saying that the MRP, you're saying that the Republican precinct delegates should not hold the party accountable, or the different elected politicians should not be held accountable within the Republican Party. So very bizarre statement right there. And then it goes on, gets worse from there. Steve Bannon, Jack Posobiec, Dan Schultz, some other guys I don't know, wanted to recruit dumb, broke, and lazy people to become precinct delegates who want to take over the party and drive out with hatred, Saul Alinsky tactics, all the people with the experience and the resources to help win elections. So right there, you see what he's saying is anyone who is coming in and wanting to restore accountability and wanting to put in a more America First type people, he's there to malign them. And if you look at his past, how would you describe him? How would you describe this guy who went back in, had all these failed LLCs and had, was part of all these cults. How would you describe this guy who came in out of nowhere and became a precinct activist and now paints himself to be the oracle of the entire party? So,
Well, what you say about me says
projecting.
more about you.
Yeah, he's
does
projecting
about me.
here, but also trying to gatekeep. This is a constant theme: is everyone is a Christian nationalist, and he hates Christian nationalism. The idea of Christians or churches getting involved in politics, he hates it and rails against it constantly.
What is he, satanic?
Well, that's up to the viewer to decide. So interesting aside here, he has collaborated with ANTIFA communist doxxer Amanda Moore, who he brought on as someone who was an expert in stopping Nazi infiltration within the Republican Party. Turns out Amanda Moore is an admitted communist. That's Amanda Moore down there, cancel mob. I don't think she said she's a communist. I am and I have, she said. So Antifa communist, she wore a wire to go into various Republican events, one of which was mine, outside of CPAC, where I had Marjorie Taylor Greene and other people there. She went there, tried to collect damaging information on people, and is an unrepentant communist. This is who Scott McMahan has on his show as an expert in policing the right wing.
Well, and remember, he's the one that got extremely upset for me coming on a podcast with my fellow Republicans. Mm-hmm. And he's having an Antifa member on his podcast.
Yeah.
And trying to lecture me about who I'm associating
Antifa.
with.
Exactly. She went to all these different events, some of which were like the Clay Clark type events, some of which were more mainstream CPAC type
Clay Clark.
engagements, and just wanted to get people on tape, wanted to do everything she could to destroy their lives. This is the type of person who Scott McMahan will collaborate with if it helps him with his goals of running quote-unquote Christian nationalists out of the party. What are his actual messages that he tries to disseminate within his journalism? Well, here's one example. Scott McMahan denies election fraud. From his article inside the December 18th White House meeting, a pivotal moment in the 2020 election aftermath, he said, quote, despite the aggressive advocacy by General Flynn, Patrick Byrne, and Sidney Powell, President Trump ultimately decided against signing an executive order. Had he proceeded, the military would have been tasked with conducting hand recounts of ballots. However, multiple hand recounts across various states, including Georgia, Wisconsin, and Arizona, have since confirmed the accuracy of the tabulated results. So you can see, they investigated themselves and found they did nothing wrong.
Actually, news has come out now that.
He comments on that later too.
Oh, okay.
With the exception of approximately 3,000 double-counted ballots in Fulton County, Georgia.
How many did you lose by?
The discrepancies
In
were
Florida,
not sufficient.
Or Georgia, it was marginal.
Yeah.
The discrepancies were not sufficient to alter the outcome of the election. Says who? Well, says him, because he believes there's
Sorry, I
no
just had to
election
cough on the
fraud,
mic.
and he hates the people who are pushing to investigate the election fraud that happened in 2020. In particular, he has a hard-on about General Flynn. General Flynn is responsible for all the evils in the world, and he's always spinning different conspiracy theories about General Flynn. To him, Flynn is, Flynn was the guy who tried to frame Trump for Russia collusion.
General Michael Flynn?
That's what he says, and we'll get into that in a minute. And some of his old YouTube content before he got this following out of the blue.
Yeah.
You see there, he was he went from being a cult leader or a cult member in Arizona to being a Bible analyst whose podcast got no views. Mm-hmm. This is an interesting one. 12 views on this one. Maybe we should let the Democrats win, by Scott McMahan. So Scott McMahan said that the Russiagate hoax was not based on the Steele Dossier, but rather a General Flynn conspiracy. So here he says the Steele Dossier was flawed and overhyped by the corrupt FBI, but wasn't the basis of Spygate or Crossfire Hurricane. And he said this narrative pushed by Kash Patel, Devin Nunes, amplified by Bongino. He loves Bongino now that he's covering up for pedophile crimes, but back then he hated Bongino. And he says that the IC wants us focused on the Steele Dossier to distract from the real triggers for a Crossfire Hurricane, Flynn and Carter Page. So this was later proven false after Tulsi Gabbard, who he hates because Tulsi Gabbard releases a lot of files that
Prove her point.
prove how full of shit Scott McMahan is. So they declassified documents that prove Scott McMahan wrong. So I have the from the article here.
Oh.
Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard is vowing to release more information this week in addition to her bombshell declassification of documents that show overwhelming evidence that Barack Hussein Obama laid the groundwork for years-long Trump-Russia collusion investigation. And then it says here, according to a release from current CIA Director John Ratcliffe, career intelligence officials say Brennan deliberately kept parts of the investigation secret from other agencies and aggressively pushed to include the now debunked Steele Dossier. Again, this is what's come out because of Tulsi Gabbard, and Scott McMahan does not like Tulsi Gabbard because what she's released has made a complete mockery of the narrative that he's been pushing for almost 4 years now. Scott McMahan demands for Kash Patel to investigate Trump supporters.
I demand it!
So here's what would make me Kash Patel's biggest fan. Investigate General Flynn. So he wants the apparatus of the intelligence community of the deep state turned against Trump supporters while Trump is having his second term.
And he posted that while sitting as a Republican county commissioner.
Dick.
Yes, so investigate Republicans, not Democrats, says Scott McMahan. And
I get J6 pardons were a mistake.
Yep, and here's another one.
What?
An innocent man doesn't need a pardon. That's a direct quote.
Oh, really?
So are you kidding me? Like you're saying that there's no problems with the criminal justice system at any level? You're saying there's no deep state that was trying to frame people throughout the Trump era? An innocent man doesn't need a pardon? What an insult. What a joke. What a disgrace. Disgusting.
Out of the 5 or 6 top platform points that Trump ran on, vindicating the J6ers was in the top 5 or 6 immediately. I mean, he was hardcore, especially in the last few months leading up to the November election. I'm going to pardon the Jan Sixers day one. And he followed through on that, and I fucking praised him for that because
it's the best thing he's done.
100%. Then
the
there
best thing
should have
he's
been
done.
arrests across the board, and that's where we got pissed off. But, but we still have friends, right? Stuart Rhodes, Joe Biggs.
Yeah, they got clemency.
And 10 others.
They need a full pardon.
Stuart Rhodes and 11 others need to have a full pardon. All they got was clemency. They can't hold fucking firearms right now.
Said that, well, now that all the J6ers are pardoned, we can't use the deep state to go after Michael Flynn based on my cockamamie theories. So that's why he opposed
I've
the
been
January 6th
hearing this
pardons.
a lot, Shane, and I haven't dove into it deep, but I've been hearing this a lot from a number of the people that are pro-Iran war, pro-Palestinian war, pro-Ukrainian war, that Michael Flynn is such a just this horrible person.
Well, it's the same op
Where
that
the-
was trying.
where the fuck is
it's
this-
the same op that was trying to get him and ensnare him and destroy him ever since he was named National Security Advisor, and they had to root him out of there. It's the same conspiracy that's after him. It's after anyone who is legit and not owned by the war party, owned by the deep state, owned by the military-industrial complex. It's the same shit over and over again. Scott McMahan wants to see the Jan Sixers investigated. He says that Flynn Network wants full pardons for the violent actors. They want J6 to go away. Roger Stone, too. He hates Roger Stone. Because having people convicted of seditious conspiracy begs an investigation of the other conspirators. So what he's doing is he is endorsing the Jan 6 investigations and the people who've been investigated and prosecuted for seditious conspiracy, because that will allow him to go after, and the deep state to go after General Flynn because of his weird obsession. And here's the next one. The next one is Scott McMahan. He opposes the Trump administration's investigation into election fraud in Georgia.
Fulton County?
He says that's not going to prove systemic fraud. I mean, how do you know? I mean, we've seen the way they were hiding the ballots
what
and that
cult
they
is she a part of? Denial? Was it denial cult?
the denial cult, perhaps. But yeah, we've seen the way that they hid ballots after Georgia. We've seen all the different things they did to marshal people off the floor and stop the vote count. And we saw, how all the vote counts miraculously shot up, when all those ballots came in. So how does Scott McMahan know that the investigation that hasn't happened will yield no signs of real fraud. So, and again, also, he's very angry at Tulsi Gabbard for actually investigating anything that does not go after Michael Flynn. He hates and tries to drag it through the mud. He wasn't there. He wasn't part of it. Who knows if he was even a conservative at the time, but now he will say that he's the number one person who knows the most about the topic, and his words should be taken as canon. He says that Catholics and Protestants should not be Christian nationalists. He has no problem with Israeli nationalism or Zionist Christian nationalism or Judeo-Christian nationalism, but Christian nationalism is really bad, and especially if you support General Flynn. So here's his post on Christian nationalism. It's not a very good post. He's trying to do like some sort of Klan burning cross thing. It's not a Christian who simply loves America. It's not running for office or being a believer in public life. It's not standing for biblical values and politics. Here's why it's bad. Here's why I'm saying it's bad. It's a movement that wants to merge church and state power. Ecumenical political alliance that unites Catholic, Protestants, Orthodox, even Mormons at the expense of the gospel. So he doesn't want broad Christian unity.
If all the Christians came together, that'd be a problem.
That's what he's saying. Christian nationalism, a collectivist ideology that talks about saving America rather than preaching salvation to individuals. So why can't you save America and also preach salvation to individuals? This is a false dichotomy. A theology that falsely claims America is uniquely chosen by God, often backed by unbiblical prophecies. So it says that rooted in dominionism, the belief that Christians are called to seize political and cultural control. Well, we've seen what happens when Christians gave away the culture. We've seen what's happened in recent years as secularism has taken hold in this country. It's not exactly going well. Advocates for churches to function as political organizations violating their New Testament mandate. What the mandate he's speaking of is the 501c3 mandate that churches have been essentially coerced by the government into entering into, and this prevents them, supposedly, even though it's against the First Amendment, from functioning as political organizations. So he says the bottom line is Christian nationalism is neither Christian nor constitutional. It distorts the mission of the church, undermines the gospel, and weakens true Christian witness. Scott McMahan says that Charlie Kirk is a deep state tool. So before, once Charlie Kirk died, of course, he jumped on the Charlie Kirk bandwagon, as many people did. But
Christian nationalism.
When Charlie Kirk was alive, all the people in the Republican Party mix who were part of the establishment hated him because he was trying to tip over the apple cart. He was trying to recruit delegates. He was trying to put better people in at the RNC. He was no friend of the establishment. So, of course, Scott McMahan hated him.
Looked at Joe Kent and said, "Do not get us into an Iran conflict."
Yep.
Literally, on record, Joe Kent in the White House, he looked at him and said, "Dude, do your best to keep us out of an Iran conflict."
100%. So here's what he says. Christian nationalism as deep state tools like Flynn, Clay Clark, and Charlie Kirk present and promote it is neither Christian nor constitutional. I'm a born-again Christian and blah, blah, blah. If you're a Christian, you should get involved, but unless it's only if the way I say you need to get involved. That's how you should be able to get involved.
I've had more conversation with people who say, well, as Christians, we shouldn't get involved. I said, then you're not honoring the understanding of the founding fathers of this country.
Mm-hmm. He further trashed Charlie Kirk and his quote-unquote Christian nationalist agenda. So that's what he says. What he means by Christian nationalist is what people like Charlie Kirk want.
Okay.
He was vehemently opposed to everything Charlie Kirk stand for when he was alive. So here's what he said. Flynn Network, Charlie Kirk, and many other intelligence operatives, saying that Charlie Kirk was part of the CIA or insinuating that, are working to pervert churches with NAR Christian nationalism, causing professing Christians to shift their hope from Christ to politics. They know that they can dictate the hopes of their followings, they can profit substantially and ultimately gain power and control. So this man, Scott McMahan, when Charlie Kirk was alive, did everything he could to undermine Charlie and his agenda, and then only started exploiting him later after he was dead to try to stifle dissent.
That's what they always do.
Yep, try to stifle dissent and give more power to the establishment. Here's another one of Scott McMahon's greatest hits. Russiagate is real, and connects it to Anna Paulina Luna. So this woman says Russiagate was not a hoax, not an hoax, but run against Trump by those who put you in Congress, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean.
What the
And
fuck?
Scott McMahan says, oh yes, Evie, you get it exactly right. It was a pre-planned operation by people like General Flynn to justify the investigation and political hit job on Trump. He hated Dan Bongino until the part of where he started
He
covering
said,
for pedophiles. Now he likes Dan Bongino.
Nothing to see here.
Epstein who?
And another thing, like you brought up earlier, you know what they say about Tucker Carlson and all these ridiculous things that they say on Twitter a lot of the time. No one actually believes this stuff. It's all complete hackery.
Wait.
They know exactly what they're doing. They're lying deliberately, and it's all just a fraud. So they can put this nonsense onto people who will speak out against the war machine, speak out against the military-industrial complex, speak out against Israel's domination of our foreign policy. People who speak out against that, they are put under the gun. You will be maligned in the most ridiculous of ways, and all these people are completely full of shit. They know they're lying, but they're all paid off, or they're all bought off, or they're all compromised. Okay, so Scott McMahan, as we said, he hates Christian nationalism, all he rails about, but Christian Zionism he has no problem with. The war with Iran, he hasn't said a word about it. And here's how triggered he was about just straight up America First beliefs. He was responding to the John Birch Society. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the John Birch Society, but they've been anti-globalism since the 1950s.
100%.
Totally run through the mud like you wouldn't believe.
Yep.
So here's what he said is that, he said, a Nazi, who he says is a Nazi, who knows, some random account, reposted something that said from John Birch Society, the only country you have to support to be an American patriot is America. And he said that this claim that communism is preferable to Zionism is the logical extension of this garbage post you wrote yesterday, saying that all you have to do is support America to be an American patriot. And then, no, please endorse this or condemn this Nazi endorsement of communism. So that just shows you how intellectually dishonest he is, and his agenda-driven bullshit, just absolutely disgusting.
There's one of our hot, intelligent chicks, Kristen Megan Kelly.
Okay, Christian Megan Kelly.
Megan Kelly
was strong-armed. So here it is. He says to her, "Hello, Christian. I'm pretty sure this is Nate's column. Nate's her husband.
Yeah.
No problem with people writing whatever they want about me and blah, blah, blah. What he wrote is BS. If he wants to talk to me and make corrections, this will be fine. I won't pursue it further. I don't have much respect for cowards who hide behind anonymity with made-up lies. What are you talking about? My husband doesn't write columns. Why are you calling him a coward? How's he a coward? He's a Purple Heart vet. Defamed in the media. Doesn't even use social media. I demand an apology." So this is very common of what his MO is he puts out this narrative. He starts putting out defamation against people. And then he says, "Oh, well, I'll stop defaming you if you come on and you play into my narrative and you help me slander other people." That's his whole MO.
Well, interestingly enough,
is he texting you?
I have a voicemail he left me.
Today?
Let's hear it.
No, this was 2/3/26 after I reposted a General Patton. I made a General Patton post about how
we fought the wrong enemy.
Please
give me a call at your earliest convenience. I just saw
No, you're good. Hold it to your microphone.
a post that you did on Facebook that is overtly anti-Semitic and neo-Nazi propaganda, and really pretty directly claiming that communism is a Jewish conspiracy, and even saying that we fought the wrong enemy in World War II, implying that we should have been fighting the Jews on the side of the Nazis. I think that this is absolutely deplorable.
Not at all.
I think you need to delete this and apologize publicly, and back away from these views and back away from the people that are influencing you in this direction, because this is not good at all. And I'm not going to mince words on it. I will not tolerate Nazism in any organization that I'm a part of. I can't. So it's a hard line. And I know you're associating with some people that in D9 that are probably leading you in this direction, And
NT9.
I also think
D9.
that you should come to me with that, and I think that
strong arming.
you should be a whistleblower against this. So
A
I
whistleblower
really
against
hope
this.
and pray that
While
you change
whistleblowers are being
course,
thrown in fucking prison
and,
for actually whistleblowing.
coming to you before I go public with it. So
Go
I'd
public
like to
bitching
maybe
about
meet
your
up,
Facebook
talk
post that
face to
triggered
face
me because
about
I'm a
it. I'd
pussy.
like to, and we can go from there. Thanks.
That was that.
What
Was
an
that? What was
asshole.
that?
So why was Scott McMahan freaking out and trying to strong arm Christian Megan Kelly?
It's GOP establishment.
It was over 2 articles. One was some detailed analysis that suggested that Scott McMahan is backed by the Republican establishment, and another is one that suggested that his audience is fake. So these really pissed him off, and when I post, I'm going to isolate all of the Scott McMahan commentary we're doing today. I'm going to post it out there. And I'm also going to have a file with all this stuff in there, linked and shown to be legitimate. So anyone can, check to see if these things are true, and they can do their own research. But it's all publicly up there on his Twitter. This is all stuff that he's actually posted. And you can determine whether or not Scott McMahan is credible for yourself. But, this is a guy, he's attacked Roger Stone, he's attacked General Flynn to no avail. Michael Flynn just received, I think, a $1.2 million judgment from the DOJ.
Yeah.
And then released a statement. President Trump signed it, ridiculously big, just to show he endorsed that. So Donald Trump and Roger Stone are good friends. Roger Stone appears in the White House intermittently. On Twitter, Scott does his tweets, and they do not resonate. They have no effect in the White House or in geopolitics. He tries to attack me, a reporter, and his attacks against me have zero impact on me and my career, anything that I'm doing.
Like a Scud missile from North Korea, it did not hit a target.
So exactly. So he has no effect in any of his reporting against his supposed targets. So what does he have to do? He has to try to drive young Republicans out of the party, just so he can feel like he has some kind of power, so that he feels like his work resonates in some respect in any way, shape, or form. That's why he's getting demolished tonight, because it's so pathetic what he's trying to do. Scott McMahan, he hated Charlie Kirk. He said Charlie Kirk was an architect of Christian nationalism. He wanted him run out of the party. He wanted his influence to be destroyed. Well, he got what he wished for when Charlie was assassinated. So we're seeing the fruits that it's yielding right now.